Hello. Okay, so some people have asked me why I'm so environmentally conscious, or and when I became so environmentally conscious, or and what things I do that I, besides having an electric car, that are more environmentally conscious. And I'm really just realizing that I am an environmentally conscious person. I didn't really notice, and some people use the term tree hugger, which I think is funny because I picture someone literally hugging a tree. And as a little kid, I used to climb trees, but I don't think that counts. I don't really know when it started. As a kid, I didn't really have. There wasn't any recycling. There wasn't access to like clean and efficient products. It's just I was just a kid. I didn't really care. I've always had an appreciation for efficiency, mostly because I could see that it'll be a cheaper way to do something. Now, I've always been a cheap person. I was in college and they changed our football field from grass to turf. I was looking and I was thinking like they could really save a lot of money from not having to water the field so much. It'd probably be pretty good for the environment too, that they don't have to keep painting the field and it just drains and run off wherever it goes. At that time, I wasn't considering the environmental effects of them not wasting so much water to keep the field green, but I did appreciate the money saving, even though it wasn't my money. Also, when I was in college, me and a lot of my teammates, we spent the summers working on the shores or offshores, cleaning up oil spills and chemical spills, usually around the Gulf area. And one thing that you learn when you do that type of work is those types of spills happen all the time, way more than you realize. When it makes it, the ones that make the news are just the really bad ones. At any given moment in South Louisiana, some type of chemical is probably spilling in a water system. But people don't hear about the small ones that are kind of deep within the bayou of these pipelines that burst overnight and they just spill until somebody realizes something's gone wrong and we had to come in and kind of clean it up. The summer after I graduated, I spent that entire summer living out in the Gulf of Mexico during the BP oil spill. That was an experience. And that was just one more of many times that I've seen birds and fish covered in oil. And I promise you, it looks way worse in person than it does on television. Like sometimes you'll see on TV, you'll see the people washing the oil off the pelicans or whatever. But now when I see that, I know that they just got the ones that they could save, and a lot of other ones didn't make it. And I think that may have like subconsciously had an effect on me. Like there was no one particular moment where I was like, well, that's it, no more oil for me. I'm definitely going to get an electric car. But I think just over time, it may have had an effect on the decisions and the choices I made as far as getting rid of fossil fuels and lowering my own carbon footprint. I even tried to make an early, unsuccessful attempt to go greener. It didn't work out too well. It was during the Cash for Clunkers deal that was big a while ago. The only problem was I didn't have any money or credit, so I had to keep driving that '94 Cadillac. But a few years later, when I got my first house, I started to replace the gas outdoor lawn equipment with electric. I started with the string trimmer. Um, I like those better because they're cheaper and they're a lot easier. And on top of that, I've always hated the gas version. I found them to be pretty terrible. I've never liked gas string trimmers. Then I won a competition on Facebook from Black and Decker where I won a lawnmower string trimmer and a hedge trimmer. It's all electric. No, they're all 36 volt. Their whole 36-volt system. Okay, I'm back. Had to move the truck. Um, a couple thoughts on the lawnmowers. If you're thinking about going with a plug-in or a corded one, um, couple things to know is the corded one. It could be annoying. You just have to know how to manage the cord while you're doing it. The easiest way is to just start closest to the plug and work your way away from it. The corded ones, the cord is really annoying if you're in like a difficult area, like going around trees and bushes and stuff like that. But it is really light, so it's easy to maneuver. The battery powered one, you have the same freedom and ease of ability to kind of move it around like you would with a gas powered one, but they are heavy. The battery on them is really heavy. It probably heavier than a regular gas powered mower. The one I won, the battery was good for about 4.5 years. And then it got to a point where I would have to cut the front yard one day and I'd have to cut the backyard the next day. And basically that last 6 months, it kind of kicked out doing that type of performance, but it was pretty good for 4.5 years. The problem I had was replacing the battery. There weren't any aftermarket options, and the only one I could find, I would have to have it shipped directly from Black & Decker, and it would cost like $150. So I figured I could just get a brand new one with the cord for the same price. And the ones with the cord are, in my experience, from the ones that I've used, they're a little more powerful. Because I had a fairly base model plug-in one versus a higher end battery powered one, and I think that the plug-in one was still, like, you can feel and you can see in the cut of the grass that it had a little more power to it. Okay, had to move again. I'm at my next stop. So with the exception of my wife's car, I've changed everything that a lot of people would have a gasoline powered engine to electric motors, and I'm pretty happy with it so far. With the car, I guess what was kind of ironic was I had to go from driving an electric forklift at work to driving this diesel powered truck at work so I can afford to buy an electric car for home. So I had to get dirty at work so I can be clean at home. That's terrible. Like, comment, and subscribe. I won't say anything like that again. Okay, so it's time to cut grass, and as you can see, I'm fully committed to going green. At some point, these will be powered by solar panels. My 2 lawn mowers. This is Big Red right here. Had this lawnmower for 5 years. It's battery powered, Black & Decker, 36 volt. Probably time to replace the battery. It's really weak right now. It's pretty much, I can't use it anymore. I used it really heavily. I won it in a competition on Facebook on the Black & Decker, their Facebook page, and I used it really heavily. And at this point, it's pretty much dead. But 5 years is probably longer than I thought it would have lasted. It's definitely longer than I can imagine keeping an iPhone battery that has a usable charge. But it, like, within the last few months, it got to a point where it really wasn't working very well. And because I needed one immediately, I just picked up this Greenworks, which, since it's a plug-in one, it has a lot more power, and it's really light since it doesn't have the big battery on top. The battery is on the Black & Decker is actually really heavy, so it's easy to maneuver, but you have to know how to work with having the big 100-foot long cord tagging behind you. But once you get the form, you learn how to mow away from wherever you're plugged in. It works out really well. And this is how I figure out when it's time to cut grass. Whenever my little doggy looks like he's in the wild, he's hidden in the grass, and I know it's time to cut grass. Come on, Zeus. Zeus. Chunky, you want to be in the video? Hey, Chunk.